Hi! By far the video game series that I have the most amount of nostalgia for is Pokémon. I'm sure I'm not alone, as I grew up in the prime time to be a Pokémon fan. I watched the Pokémon anime as far back as I can remember, but I didn't start playing the games until about Generation 3. Growing up as a younger brother, I spent a lot of time watching my older brother play single-player games on consoles. I'd really only play multiplayer games with him. The single-player stuff on console just seemed a little too intimidating for me. But it had to be like my 7th or 8th birthday when someone got me a gift that would change my life. That year, I received Pokémon Ruby for the Game Boy Advance. I fell in love with this game. It was a single-player, handheld experience that felt like it was all mine and not intimidating at all. I could even play it on my own Game Boy. This one, right here, anytime I wanted. I went on to play every Pokemon game that I could get my hands on. Currently, I'm addicted to Pokopia, which made it a little hard to get this video done. But aside from the gameplay and the cute little guys you collect, the music from the Pokemon video games has also had a pretty significant impact on me. So today, I thought I'd try and take this inspiration fueled by nostalgia and make a track that sounds, somewhat at least, like it could be in a Pokemon game. So if you're familiar with the games, you might be thinking to yourself, there's not just one style of Pokemon music. Like, if you look at enough music, they can sound pretty different from each other. And to that, I say you're right. So let's narrow down what it is that I'll be writing. So the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people when thinking about Pokemon music is probably some of the town and city themes. These places are where you spend a good amount of time throughout your playthrough. A lot of the stories and its plot points take place in the cities. Whenever you need to heal your team or purchase more Pokeballs or full restores, you probably head into the nearest one to do so. There's a lot of reasons why you'll be coming back, and in doing so, you'll hear these themes over and over again. Now, I love some of these themes as much as you probably do, but they're not what I'm going to be drawing too much inspiration from today. These melodies are beautiful and super nostalgic, and I think they do a great job of encapsulating the feel of their respective regions. They give you a great sense of what it would feel like to actually live in these areas, taking inspiration from the real world cultures that they're based on. But I'm looking for something that's a little more consistent throughout all the games, which brings us to The battles are pretty much the main element of mainline Pokemon games. In my opinion, it's where most of the personal memories are made. Everyone plays through the same story, but it's your personal team and your connection with them that makes these moments so impactful. If you were like me growing up, you watched the anime and could just picture what it would be like to actually be leading your team into battle in these moments. This is what it looked like. This is what it actually felt like. So some of the songs that I have the most memories of growing up are these battle themes. Because the moment was so impactful, or probably because I lost so many times and I had to keep retrying the battle. Let me just give you a few examples and show you what I've noticed to get a better idea of how to write something like this. Probably one of the most popular battle themes is Cynthia's from Diamond and Pearl. This theme evokes fear into many. It does so through the use of diminished chords and suspense when paired with the approaching theme, which is just as notable and nostalgic as the main theme. The theme as a whole is powerful and an almost non-stop barrage that reflects how a champion battle should feel. And a lot of elements of this theme are present throughout the Pokemon series as a whole when it comes to battle themes. One of my favorite recent examples of this is the Team Star boss battle theme from Scarlet and Violet. This song goes incredibly hard, and the guitar in the intro caught my ear immediately when playing through Violet. Take notice of how the song begins. The intro draws you in only to settle for a bit and then goes all into the full energy of the battle. Again, this is something that happens a lot throughout the series, whether starting with an in-your-face moment like this or a little more subdued, almost to get you to slow down and listen a little closer before the full intensity of the battle sets in. Take for example Maxie and Archie's theme from Ruby and Sapphire. There's a feeling that something's looming, or something's gonna happen, and then all of a sudden it just hits you in the face. Something else I've noticed when listening back through a bunch of these battle themes is oftentimes in the middle, there's a little bit of a lift. Almost a hopeful sounding moment. It's typically achieved by modulating from the minor key the song's in to a major key. Let's take a look at another theme from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Zinnia's theme. The main theme of the song sounds like this. It's intense, intimidating, driving, and in a minor key. But then, not too long after it, we get this. The percussion stops, and we get these long, beautiful chords with a hopeful melody on top. You get a bit of a break from the constant movement in the accompaniment, but it doesn't take long for the energy to pick back up again. Another example of this can be heard in X and Y's Elite Four music. Here's the main idea. And here's the lift. I feel like these uplifting sections are a good way to represent the hopefulness of the player, and the fact that you've gotten this far to make it to the gym leader, Elite Four, or champion. Another thing I've noticed that are pretty common in these themes are these pretty fast, intense, almost virtuosic moments. Whether that be in an intro, tucked into the background, or even a bass line. You can hear it in the piano line here in Lucamine's theme from Sun and Moon. As well as the intro from N's theme from Black and White. One last example that's kind of like this is from one of my favorite themes in the whole series. It's this guitar part that's in the background of Mirror B's theme from XD Gale of Darkness. Seriously, that theme is just so good. I had to fit it in somewhere. But just in general, there can be a lot of fast moving parts, so I guess we'll see if I have the chops to do something like that. So let's recap a couple of the main ideas we're thinking of when trying to write a battle theme. An intro that immediately catches your attention, whether that's slowly creeping in or immediately hitting you in the face, giving you a second to breathe, and then right back into the battle. A constant bass and percussion section that's keeping up the intensity for most of the theme. This is accompanied by an intense and maybe even unsettling harmonic progression that builds suspense and is probably in a minor key. Then a brief moment of relief, major and hopeful sounding, but not for too long before it gets right back into the battle. Sprinkle in some fast or virtuosic lines in there, and I think we got ourselves a Pokemon battle theme. With all this research done, I think it's time to try my hand at writing something like this. Not so fast though. This is not an ad, I'm nowhere successful enough for that. This is more just shameless self-promotion. If you didn't know, I write original music, and you can go listen to it right now anywhere you stream music. It's like indie rock, pop type stuff. Spotify and Apple Music links are in the description. Okay, like and subscribe and all that too. I think that's it. Thank you, love you, bye. If you've watched my videos before, you might know that I tend to start the writing process on guitar. I went into this process with guitar in hand, approaching it just like I would any other writing session. I figured since I'm most comfortable writing music on guitar, it would make more sense to write something more similar to some of the more recent Pokemon games. These more recent games sound like they're using real analog instruments, as opposed to being limited to something like a sound card in a Game Boy. In theory, it sounds like it should fit my skill set a lot better. It really didn't take long for me to come up with a starting point that I liked. The riff that I came up was in a minor key, fast-paced, keeps the energy moving, and it felt good to play on both guitar and bass. But before I recorded it, I wanted to make sure I had a drum track to record to. It helps me stay in time better than a metronome, and gives me a better idea of what the overall vibe of the song is going to be like. But something interesting happened. I felt myself gravitating more towards the electric drum kits than the acoustic sounding ones. It's not what I would usually do, but it felt right for this. That's really bad. That's so bad. Thank God for quantizing. With a drum kit put together and a basic beat laid down, I recorded the original idea that I had, and then began trying to figure out some type of melody to go over it. But something didn't feel quite right. wasn't sounding like what I was picturing in my head. Even these first couple of parts just put together, I feel like I couldn't picture it in a Pokemon game. I thought maybe I'll just come back to the guitar later and focus on recording the bass for now, just to give myself a good foundation and get something out there. It wasn't perfect yet, but it started to feel better, more Pokemon-y in my opinion. Maybe that riff on the guitar was just weird. And as I kept listening back to what I just recorded, it sounded like it needed something electronic. I was looking for something to help swell into that big part, where the energy really starts to establish itself. That's kind of cool. This is a good time to mention that I'm not very knowledgeable or familiar with synthesizers. In my head, I knew the sound that I wanted, but I really just sat there switching through presets till I found one that was interesting. And then I kind of just played with the dials until I found something that I wanted. I even fumbled my way through automation to make the synth swell in automatically. Did it take me about a half hour to figure out this one swell? Yes. Is it mainly because I turned on the touch automation to get this effect, but forgot to turn it off and kept moving the dials while listening back, resulting in me just screwing up the initial idea so much that I had to just redo it all? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. How'd you know? I'm messing this whole thing up. I eventually got it, and this time remembered to turn off the touch automation. I was liking the sound of the synths that I had so far, so I kept going with it. I found another sound that I liked and figured out a melody to go over the bass part. Okay, if you couldn't tell, that melody didn't quite fit over the bass progression that I had, so I just had to go back and tweak it a bit. That felt good, and I had a bit more of the rest of the song figured out as well. The synth that I chose for the melody was pretty intense, and I feel like the bass tone that I had wasn't enough to keep up. And I had an itch to try out one of the only other non-Logic instruments that I have, the Minimoog by Universal Audio. I felt like this could give me a nice, gritty, and intense bass sound. If only I knew how to use it. I got there eventually again, but I really just kind of messed with the dials till it sounded right. I'm starting to think that's all that sound design is, really. I felt like I was on a roll with these synth parts, so I went on to add a couple more to fill out the space a little bit, trying to define the harmonic progression and build the intensity of the battle theme. An important part of these battle themes that I mentioned earlier were these really fast-moving lines. And I had the line in my head, but I just could not play it. Okay. Ideas are coming. I can't play it that fast. Okay. I think I did it. So yeah, I had to split it up into 2 takes. That's fine. And don't make me feel bad for it. Do you think someone really actually physically played that piano part in Cynthia's theme on Diamond and Pearl? No, they used technology. I'm just like them. It was at this point that I began to realize I don't think that I need that original bass part anymore. So I made the decision to go full on digital for this track. That means I wouldn't even be going back to the guitar. It's going to be all synths from here, which is a huge step for me because I never really write music like this. I just feel way more comfortable with a stringed instrument than I do with a keyboard. So thank you to my guitar and my bass for helping me come up with the original ideas to this, but it was time to move on. With my new path in front of me, I felt like I really had to embrace the lifestyle of a keyboard player, pushing myself to, start playing this instrument the way it's meant to be played. No more of the rugged and dirty lifestyle of a guitarist. We piano and keyboard players have class. I had to respect that and start being mindful of things like proper technique, dynamics, and correct chord and scale shapes. I'm just kidding. I just mashed all the white keys and it sounded pretty good. I also changed all the track colors because it made me smile. I had a pretty good chunk of this track done, but there was one part I still felt like was missing. One more section to contrast that main melody and give us that lift. But I was pretty tired that day, so I decided to just get some initial ideas down and ultimately come back the next day.
Day 2, let's try and finish this up. Henry.
So with a fresh set of ears, I picked up where I left off. Since I had the melody down, the next step was to come up with a progression that fits well underneath it. Something that doesn't stray too far from the main idea, but is new sounding enough to not be too derivative. It's kind of like writing a bridge to a song, which is kind of hard to do. With bridges and songs and with this section, it feels like there's a lot of pressure to write something that's on the same level of your original idea. It's a hard thing to do sometimes, but I feel like I was pretty successful.
He messed me up.
I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly all this was coming together. And because of the melody that I wrote and the synth sound, I ended up with this weird extended phrase type thing. I don't know, I thought it was kind of neat. After figuring out the progression, I just filled out the section a bit more. I also decided to change the sound of the lead synth. After listening to it for so long, I just felt like it didn't fit anymore. After that, I really just went through the track and added things like texture, some risers, and stuff like that.
Is that too intense? Might be too intense.
And at this point, I felt like I was done.
Yep, I mean, I feel like it's pretty good. I could do a lot more, go more in depth, add some variations as the song goes on, but I don't know what else to say, so I'm going to leave it to myself in the future to finish this video. Yeah. Take it away, me.
Thank you. Writing this challenged me for sure. It took me way out of my comfort zone, but I think I was pretty successful at the end of the day. To me at least, it sounds like something that could be in a Pokemon game. Maybe like from the Generation 4 era of games, which is one of my favorites, so it was cool to write something so different from what I normally would do. And I think it's one of only a few things that I've written without guitar on it. It was fun trying to think of chord progressions and use sounds that were a little more intense. Personally, I've always thought of myself as more of a songwriter than a composer. Now this didn't change my mind completely, but it made me a little more confident. And I think I got a good amount of the traits that I talked about earlier. It has the intro that starts a little more subdued before coming in full force, a progression and the rhythm section that builds suspense and intensity, some of those quick moving passages, and the contrasting sections with a little bit of lift. It's not perfect, but I feel good. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Was I successful, or am I just a bad musician? Those are the only two options, I guess. Please consider liking and subscribing. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok for pictures of me and my dogs. And if you like music that sounds nothing at all like this, then go ahead and check out my original music on streaming services. Spotify and Apple Music links are in the description. I'm gonna go ahead and play the whole track here at the end. So thank you for watching. Bye.